We have a gentleman here and long awaited, one of the first, if not the first, of the generation of Caribbean stars to make it into Europe. So introduce yourself and give a little Caribbean background.
Oh, thank you for the warm welcome. This is Brad Parker, son to Marilyn and Junior Parker, brother of Greg Parker, born and raised in Scarborough. Grew up in the Caribbean community. My father was a player, coach, going even way back to West Indies United, Malvern coaching. I grew up in the community and got to where I am with those grassroots.
How did it happen? I'm getting Julian's story, but because you seem to be one of the guys that did well early. So how did it go down?
Just talking. Do you mean like my story or my story with
your story? Yeah. What opened the door for you?
I don't know. Well, maybe it's a bit of someone that stays with you. It's a bit of one of the younger guys at that time, who I would say, there weren't a lot of players. I don't think there was even any at that time. Maybe there was guys trying, like Dwayne DiRosario, those guys, Jason Bett, maybe a year before me, who tried to make a move. I was younger than those guys, but I always played at the same age level as them.
Was that because of size or your game or you had game or don't give me the modesty business,
Yeah, a bit of both, I guess. I mean, I was quite tall and strong for my age, but I could hold my own, and I was a good midfielder. I used to play at Malvern and do well, and at that time, because I was playing a year or 2 years older, I got picked up by the provincial team. After I played the under 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, but I was only at that time 2 years younger than everyone else. And at one time, I think I was this was a year before a year and a half actually before I left. I think I should have been about 13, 14. I didn't get picked by the provincial team. I had a coach at the time, a man from Trinidad as well. I can't remember his name. But anyways, he was the coach, and I thought I deserved to be picked for this team. And from that point, I had a discussion with my dad, and I said, I quit playing soccer. I'm not playing soccer anymore.
That's the frustration of the youths then. That's the story of what? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was disappointed, frustrated. I like playing basketball. I was good at basketball. I also played basketball in Toronto. So I stopped playing. And that must have been for about going on 6 months. But when you're not playing soccer, that's it's one thing to not play, but it's one thing to not play something that you love and like, and your friends, your family, your social life is also part of that. Soccer is not only, it's a sport, it's something you can enjoy, but it's more than that.
Yes.
To a lot of people, and that's what it was to me. You've known me since I was born. We grew up, you guys as parents and leaders followed us and grew us up on the soccer field. So to step away from that was difficult. And I remember having conversations with my dad, and I was like, you just do what you want to do. But if you do it, just enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, we put your best and do your best and see what happens. So I did that. I came back, and I decided, in that year I'm gonna prove to that coach and the provincial team once I got up again by the provincial team, we had a coach called Bob Monroe, Scottish guy. He put me in the team. Thought I was doing well. He made me the captain of the team, the provincial team. And
wait, hold on. You got the captaincy after going back?
Yeah, but this was a team. This was a team that was a year younger than the original team.
Okay.
So basically, it was we'll say my own age group. But obviously, I didn't play with any of the people I knew in that team because all the guys who I knew were all a year, 2 years older.
Mm-hmm.
So that came around, and then I think the next year after that, they started scouting for the nationals, the under 17 national team, and I was 14 then, I think. And they started looking at all teams, and then I started really developing, and all the players on my team at Malvern were getting picked, and they looked at me, can't watch me play, and I got picked as well. But got selected for the under 17 Canadian team, and I played with a lot of guys who were obviously older, but a lot of guys from my own team at Malvern, my own club team at Malvern. So it kind of felt like maybe even a better version of Malvern, because we had the best players from Malvern. We also had the best players from Canada added to that team. I would say at that time maybe we were even.
You could recall the names?
Yeah, at that time we had Jama Welch, Aaron Benjamin, who else? Kashka Walker. We also had Steve Mayo, Alan, that goalkeeper, was even Malvern. What else did we have? Ian Jeffries.
Whoa! You remembering all those players?
Yeah. Mark, I forget his last name. He was also from Malvern. I think we had I would say about 50% of the team was from Malvern.
Wow. Okay. So you were comfortable.
So I was comfortable. It's my own guys who I knew for years, who I'd been playing with for years. And the rest was added on. So at that time, I was playing with a national team, but it felt like your own regular club team. It was on a different stage, playing in different countries, different level of playing. So also for us, we had to step our game up, and you learn to play a different way of playing football than what we were used to. One, because you had to think more. You weren't always at Malvern. Sometimes you had the feeling that we were technically better, we were more athletic, we could win games just by those things. Mm-hmm. And at a higher level, when you're playing against countries, in Central America or even from Europe or wherever they may be, those players are just as skillful and as athletic you are. So it's not how do you win those games. You have to think about the technical side of it. Are we playing as a team, or are we setting up the way we set up our team? Are we defending as a team? Are we attacking as a team? And those things make a bigger difference than just being a better player by yourself.
Yeah. So how did the Holland thing come through? How did that work for you from the national? Were you seen at the national level playing these international games?
Yeah, so I was seen at the national level. I played in the Youth World Cup in '95 in Ecuador. So that was my second. We'll say second large podium, or actually internationally see, because obviously we did our qualifying, and the qualifying was the year before in El Salvador, and this year was World Cup. And, we played pretty well. I think we tied a game. We tied against Oman. I think we lost against Brazil and Germany, so we had a really tough group. But I played well. And I remember my parents...
what year you say that was? What year you say that was?
That was in August of 95.
Okay.
And my parents flew down also with other parents on the team, and they stayed and watched the whole World Cup there. And I remember after my first, I can't remember if it was after my first or second night game, there was a scout there by the name of Tom Prunk, and he was the head scout of Ajax Amsterdam. And obviously we had like a whole section of Canadian parents, so he went and asked, who's number 5? That was my number, and where did he play and what did he do? And my dad got into contact with him and started speaking to him after the match. And after my last group game, he watched our last group game. He came to me, and that was after the game just outside the dressing rooms, and he introduced himself to me, and he said, we'd really like to come see you in Europe play. Would you, do you want to come have a trial at Ajax in Amsterdam? And I was like, I said, yeah, sure, of course. Not thinking of who's paying for it, how am I doing it, how am I getting there? Not a kid's brain that way. Just going along from someone likes me and someone wants me to. So I came home, and what's funny is in that same year, my dad went to Europe for work privately, and when he always went for work, he would go and watch a soccer game. So he went to Holland, he went to Belgium, and he'd go watch football games. And he met a guy by the name of John Metcott. And John Metcott isn't really someone who's recognizable within the international stage, but in Holland, I came to know this later, he was a really big player. So at that time, he had just finished his career when my dad met him, and he was working as the head of youth at Rotterdam, which is another club in Holland. And when I mean like a big player, he won in Holland. He won 2 or 3 golden boots. He played for. He started off at AZ, which is at that time, you're talking about the 70s, was one of the top 3 clubs in Holland.
Yeah.
From here, he won Golden Boot. He played for 5 years for Real Madrid. He played 4 years for Tottenham Hotspur, and after that, he ended his career at Feyenoord. And so my dad got in contact with him. He met him, and when we got back from the World Cup, my dad said, let me just give John a call and tell him about how it went to World Cup, and that Ajax were also interested, and see what he says. So we get back, and my dad gives him a call, and he says, he's delighted, and he says, I'd kind of like to see Grant play as well. What day is he planning on coming to Holland? What day? And I said, we're waiting for Ajax to react. Planning up, because they confirmed that they want to have us, but we haven't heard anything back. And he says, let me get back to you.
And you only played in for Ajax, or how did that work?
I stayed the whole month of August said they wanted that. So they paid for us, the whole family, me, my brother, my mom, my dad, to go back to Holland just 2 weeks after I was in Ecuador. So we had to, thinking back, I think, how did my parents get all the time off of work, and how's it even possible? But they made it happen, and we were back on the plane, and so I played. I got off the plane, and it's a 6-hour time difference. So we were 6 hours ahead, and you get off, you got a bit of jet lag, and there was not at the airport was not Ajax waiting for me, like what previously thought it would happen. But John Medgott from Feyenoord was there to meet me, and he said, "Thank you for coming." And my dad obviously, I always had met him, but I had no clue what was what. So they drove us to Rotterdam instead of Amsterdam, where Ajax is. Put us in Hilton Hotel, and he said, "You probably must be tired. I'll meet you this afternoon, because this afternoon you're going straight into training." So without like 3 hours of rest after a 9-hour or 7-hour flight, and we'll take you to the club and put you in training. So they picked me up later. Maybe me, everyone, me, my dad, mom, brother, all got picked up. Went to the training ground. That's when I actually saw what a professional training ground for a facility look like. I'd never actually ever seen that. You see it on TV nowadays, but back then you have no clue. And at that time, Feyenoord had for in Western Europe the largest youth academy. They pumped in at that time more than $10,000. So they had their own facilities, they had their own training grounds, they had their own youth stadium. Whereas even the large clubs like Ajax, Bayern Munich, those clubs had really good youth academies, didn't have the facility because they were just starting off. The teams were good, the coaching was good, but the facilities and everything wasn't there yet. So when I walked in, I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." You walk into a football club, the only thing you have to bring, is your toiletries, because you get everything there, from training clothes to towels to showers to doctors to everything.
And what was the reception from the other players and stuff? How does that work?
Well, one thing, I didn't speak the language.
Oh, okay.
So and at that time, there was a few players. Well, there was players that spoke English. They would learn English in school, but it wasn't great. But luckily, it was the team I was trying out with. It was also it kind of felt like Malvern. There's a lot of diversity in the cities in Rotterdam, in Holland. So you have Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and in those cities, there's large communities of immigrants, and the immigrants which I played with were either from Suriname or from Curacao or Aruba.
So they might be pretty happy they're vying for the World Cup.
Yeah, so we have a lot of those, that same Caribbean kind of feeling to it. Although they speak a different language and it's a bit different, but it still felt the same. It didn't feel like, what people think is nowadays different.
That's important, because with a guy like you who never kind of returned, I always wonder how you guys pull that off. I mean, we came Canada and we left too, but that's for a better life. So you guys kind of follow a career. I don't know, we always feel, I guess maybe Junior or your dad was protective of you guys, but you guys, the young guys, seem to start making it, and you actually live there.
I've been here so long that here feels like home. But
you're there about, 20-something years now?
Yeah, about even more, 30.
Whoa.
This year's going to be 30 years that I'm in Europe. No, not actually here, but that I'm in Europe.
Julian mentioned you. So, did you influence Jonathan?
Well, Jonathan, it's funny because I always played with Julian. So when I played with that younger
Is that right?
We still keep in contact. You know, once I started playing in Europe, that's when things started to take off. You know, I started to get recognition in not so much in Europe, but in Canada. People were like, oh wait, he plays in Europe, and you know, those were the guys who were I'll say a couple of years behind me, but also wanted to, you know, see those kind of things. And I remember coming back, I just signed up my first pro contract with Feyenoord, and I remember going back. I had a meeting. I was going to sign with a Kappa, a shoe deal, and Julian and Ainsley were outside of that building because it was actually an event, and they were waiting outside because they wouldn't get let in to meet me and to get an autograph. And I was like, you want my autograph? I've known you for like 10 years. You want my autograph for it? and Jonathan Jonathan was the little brother. And yeah, you know, so we've always known each other. And then, you know, once those guys kind of got their shot in Europe, we'd always, you know, kind of keep in contact. I remember they would come every once in a while to visit me, because, you know, those guys were staying in like dorms or wherever they were staying, and I had my own apartment. I had, you know, everything was you know, everything. I was kind of like a grown person towards them. Mm-hmm. You know, they would come and stay for when they had weekends off. They'd come stay at my house and those kind of things. And then I remember I got a call from, I think it was Julian, that his brother wanted to play. His younger brother Jonathan also wanted to try out and or wanted to move. He was a pretty good player. So I remember my dad was still coaching, and he said, "No, I want to go take a look and see what kind of player Jonathan is." And you know, I went, and he was at that time. Jonathan was a really scrawny little kid, but he was determined. He had a lot of technique. He was a good player. And they asked, you know, my dad, you know, what are your thoughts? So I said, you know what? Let me ask. You know, let's have a sit down. Let me talk you through how it kind of works in Europe. And so Jonathan's parents spoke to my parents. So even my mom was there at the time, and you know, they told him, well, you know, if you want to go to Europe, there's certain things you have to think about, certain clubs, and treat your kids. But you know, our experience, and those are the kind of things that kind of stick with you in time. I'll kind of get back to it later, but at that time they said, you know, can Jonathan maybe go to Feyenoord, the club I was at, and get a trial with the youth teams? So this time I was already making my way up into the first and second team. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan was 12 at that time, 12 or 13, so he was even younger than I was. So he came here and he did well, but the club wasn't sure about, you know, because he was so young, you know, if that's a really good decision to take such a young player. And I think it went back and forth for a while, and then after a while they decided, okay, we'll take him, but he needs to have like a support system. So they put him in a home with a family of a woman who also worked at the club. Her name was Norma, but she lived in the same apartment building as I did.
Okay. So that was a big help.
Yeah. So for Jonathan, Jonathan was like all of a sudden became like the little brother, because every day he was at my house. And, you know,
wow. Yeah. So he had it good.
Yeah, he had it good, and at that time, at that age, I was lucky enough to meet my...
So how everything tapered down? I mean, I know Johnny Plan picked it up. Yeah, so when he reached the national, because in Brazil, I saw him in the warm-ups and stuff in Brazil, in the World Cup in Brazil with Netherlands.
Yeah. So Jonathan, you know, he left even younger than we did, Canada. And
well, that's progress.
Yeah. And Jonathan's not, you know, he's by no means Dutch, he's still Canadian. But at that time, he was playing really well in Europe. And, you know, there was speculation of him being selected for the Dutch team. from my understanding, he didn't really have much of a connection. He never got recognized by Canada during his whole career until he got selected for the Dutch team.
So, what year you retired?
2000. So my son was born in 2004, so I think I stopped about 2006, 7. Yeah, 2007.
And the next thing, are you familiar with the World Cup draw, and what do you think?
Yeah. I'm a Canadian alumni member, so I still get emails and people asking me for stuff, and one thing is I think it's great, the World Cup in North America. I think it's a good opportunity for Canada to showcase themselves. And yeah, I'd love to go see it. The World Cup is always the biggest of stages, and that's happening in your own backyard is one of the is great. I mean, I couldn't imagine growing up as a teenager that I remember one time even going to see Canada play. I remember I went to see Canada play Holland or Canada play just as a friendly. That was a big deal. Going downtown and watching.
I think now it's gonna go to the next level.
I don't know if it has that impact. As at the moment, everything is so close by. Everything's tangible. Everything's you can touch everything because internet and everything. You can see everything over the whole world. Doesn't matter where it is.
True. So you're familiar with the groups? What do you think of Canada group with they have Qatar, Switzerland, and they're waiting on the European one with Italy and the playoff. Everybody seems to think it's Italy, and everybody think we're going to be in a little trouble when it comes to if Italy make it with the Sinclair and the kind of support they have here.
Yeah, I can see that.
You can see that too, right?
I can see that. But nowadays on the international stage, there's not much difference anymore in the teams. The level of play. Even if you look at the teams who have qualified and the scores that they put on the board, there's not much difference.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, like I started my story, everyone is athletic. Everyone is good technical. Everyone knows how to put a team together. So even the teams that are less, have less players, which are at a higher level and play at higher clubs, as a team, they know how to counteract these better teams. That's why you see teams like countries like for now Curacao, Haiti, all these, and even in Europe like Switzerland, and all these smaller countries that are doing just as well, if not better than the usual main countries, Italy, Spain, Germany, because they know how to play these teams. So even when you try to play them at home or away, they know how to, so it's going to be difficult for Canada to try to play against, Switzerland and these kind of teams because, they have good players and a good team setup.
Yeah, I think Switzerland is a problem to begin with. I watch them in World Cups and stuff. They have always been trouble. So you're not coming for the World Cup?
That's a funny thing. This year is my 25th year wedding anniversary. This summer, coming summer. So one of our plans was, our kids get grown now. We want to make go on a trip with the whole family. A big trip going, I don't know, somewhere, Africa, Asia, and we were making these plans. And then I think 4 or 5 months ago, I started getting emails from Canada Soccer about getting my tickets as a member for World Cup, and I thought, wait, World Cup in Canada, 2020, 26. I totally forgot about the timing. I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. But you know, no, I'd never say never. I'm gonna get my tickets.
So, but your kids, you think your kids should be anxious for it?
Yeah.
How old are your boys now? I mean, they all get kind of tall too. They look like they were gonna. Don't tell me they're taller than you.
My youngest is taller than me.
What?
So I got my oldest one is junior. He's the oldest. He's 21. He's the oldest. Then we got Jonah. He's 18, and Jordan. He's 15, and he's taller than all of us.
You have a daughter too, not so?
No, just three boys.
Oh, I thought there was a girl there at the funeral.
That's Greg's daughter.
Oh yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. But it's nice because in the Julian thing, and listening to Julian talking about he can call your name. One of the early guys is Brad Parker, and then I remember Canada Soccer was saying, because that's when I was doing the West Indies reunion a few years back, right? And your dad was there.
Yeah. The funny thing is, because I left home when I was 14, 15 years old, and I didn't get the same kind of growing up as most people had, or even my brother. So although we're brothers, we grew up in the same house, we don't have the same upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I kind of went through a period. I was more like, after I stopped playing football, I'm kind of done with Canada. I'm kind of done with going back and forth all the time. I just had young kids at the time. I was married. I'm just gonna live my life for a while, and a while turns into a couple of years, and then things start to get watered down, and I always had my parents, my brother, which I spoke to, and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of lost touch with Canada, not by not intentionally, but you start to see the world start doing different things. You kind of lose base,
mm-hmm.
and then before my mom passed, they were flying out here and seeing those kind of things, and then unfortunately that incident happened. But the good thing, the positive thing out of that is that like my children they couldn't see grandma and grandpa often,
mm-hmm.
maybe once every couple of years. And then when that happened, my dad stayed with us between me and Greg for like 3.5 years.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
Yeah, so my kids, every day they would sit beside grandpa, and I always tell them I really respect how they went through that whole situation, because sometimes it's hard to listen to stories, but they listen to stories, the same stories, day in, day out, and just sat with him, and they got that interaction with him. So from not being present day in, day out, to be having your grandpa with you every day and telling you stories about Barataria and about Scarborough.
Yes, the Barataria one too, yes.
But he knows all those, so even my children, they know. He had to, after a while, they kind of learned he has trigger words, certain things that, that bring up these stories. So even to this day, we still talk about it, because they know. I don't know if you know, there's a man called, I've never met him, but there's a man called Winston Bartholomew.
I know that name.
And he was in Trinidad, and he was in the Catholic school with my father, and this was one of the triggers for him. If you'd see someone who was really, really dark skinned,
mm-hmm.
he would say, I had a friend growing up in school, and his name was Winston Bartholomew. He said he's the blackest man in Trinidad. that's what we call him, the blackest man in Trinidad. And his teeth were lily white, but he was the nicest person he'd ever met. And my children, they've heard that story
isn't that amazing?
Stories.
Isn't that amazing with the kids though, where you figure their attention span might be a little shorter, and you as the adult would understand these things, and then you see the way they absorbing these things, and it's almost like wanting. It's almost like they're feeling the whole situation and want to be there for him. I find that so nice.
Yeah, I enjoy the people are still around. Like you're still taking time to put people, teach people or tell people stories.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Greg last night, and he was telling me now that you also played. He gave me the story with you in the Scarborough halftime show in our tournament. But give me a little about it. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I was young. Checky, Vivian Manswell, I think, was the coach, and I don't even know how old I was. I must be about 8, somewhere around there. And I remember we used to do the practices downtown in the gym.
Yeah.
And I remember those days, and I was always trying to keep up. But as you know, Greg is 9 years old, so all the people I was playing with were 9 years old. And I was just trying to keep up. And, I was used to sit on the bench during games, and they had a game down at Lamport Stadium. Lamport Stadium, and they're playing the game, and I'm sitting on the bench with all my gear on, but obviously I ain't playing because everyone's 8, 9, 10 years older than me, and all I hear is the coach, I don't know if it was Checky or Vivian, say, "Parker, get change, you're going in." And I just heard, "Parker, I'm going in." And I ran into the field and I started playing. I grabbed the ball, did a little scissors, shoot on the goal, and everyone said, "But wait." I was this little kid playing against these old grown guys.
He said you hit the crossbar.
I hit the crossbar too, yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. So all right, man. Again, it was nice again.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah. I'll put it up and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Okay. Take care and say hi to your wife and your kids for me. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.